Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with my next video on the chapter The Black Aeroplane by Frederick Forsyth. This is for class 10 from the book First Flight. As I read the story, I'll keep explaining. I hope you enjoy the pictures that I've selected for you alongside, and at the end I have the NCERT, the textbook question and answers all solved for you. I also have included a few extra questions from in between. I hope they are helpful. Let us now start with the text. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So we see that the narrator, his name is not given, the narrator is going back home to England. He's looking forward to meet his family after a long time. He's flying his old Dakota aeroplane. We see a picture of Dakota aeroplane here. The sky is clear. There was no other aeroplane. He was all alone high up in the sky. The sky was absolutely clear, no cloud, nothing. And he was dreaming of being with his family. The time was 1:30 in the morning, that is late night 1:30, when the day starts after 12 midnight. I should call Paris control room, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the light of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS-088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England, over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS-088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088, over. So as he was there up in the sky alone, in his aeroplane, in his Dakota plane that is named as Dakota DS-088, he thought of informing Paris control room so that he informs that his plane is there above the Paris city, and moreover, if any guidance is needed or if any directions or anything else the control room wants to inform can be informed to him. So when he tells that he was heading towards England and he named his plane, he was immediately answered on the radio by the control room person, who told him to turn 12 degrees west for going to England. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and the last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So on his way, when he was told to turn a little 12 degrees west, he checked his map and he saw the compass. The compass is used for showing direction. He quickly turned as he was told by the Paris control room, and also switched on his second and the last fuel tank. That means he had two fuel tanks. He switched the second one, and he was dreaming of meeting his family members, and also he had in thought about the English breakfast, a good English breakfast. We can see a good picture of the English breakfast here. And it was an easy flight. Everything was very nice, comfortable, easygoing. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to north or south. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought. But I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So as he had crossed Paris and he had come 150 kilometers ahead, he suddenly saw storm clouds in front of him. They were black, huge like mountains. He did not know what to do. Already he had switched his second fuel tank. He did not have much fuel left for flying over the clouds or going round them. The best option could be to go back to Paris, but he desperately wanted to reach home to meet his family members and, yes, the English breakfast that he was dreaming of. So he gathered up courage and thought of taking the risk and flew the old Dakota right into the huge black storm of clouds that he was seeing. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Now when he entered those black stormy clouds, everything became invisible. Everything was black. He was not able to see where he was going. His aeroplane started jumping and twisting. He looked at the compass for direction, but that was not working too. It had just stopped. It was dead. He quickly looked at the other instruments and everything had suddenly gone out of any work control. It was all dead. He tried the radio then. Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then, in the black clouds, quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turn towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. "Follow me," he was saying. "Follow me." He knows that I'm lost. I thought, he's trying to help me. So he tried his radio to contact the Paris control room. He screamed at the radio, Paris control. He was just panicking at that time. He didn't know what to do. He was not able to see anywhere. His compass was not working. And he quickly called the Paris control, asked them if they could hear him, but there was no answer. The radio was dead too. And he was totally perplexed as to what to do. His compass was not working. His plane was jumping and twisting. Nothing was working. He didn't know what to do. Then suddenly in the black clouds, he saw another aeroplane. A black aeroplane with no lights on its wings. And he could see the plane flying just next to him through the storm. He saw the pilot's face too. The pilot was waving towards him and gesturing him to follow him. And suddenly our narrator, who was in the Dakota DS-088, he realized, he in fact saw that the pilot in the black aeroplane was trying to help him. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. So it so happened that the black aeroplane that came suddenly from nowhere, and the pilot who was gesturing him, that black aeroplane moved in front of our narrator's plane, and the narrator understood that he had to follow that black aeroplane. He was very, very happy to follow him like an obedient child. Half an hour he followed the strange black aeroplane, but then he saw his fuel tank and he knew that was the last fuel tank and it would not go more than 5 to 10 minutes more. Again the narrator got scared, he got frightened what he would do. His fuel was just getting over. But then suddenly he saw the plane that he was following started to move downwards. Suddenly, I came out of the clouds and saw the 2 long straight lines of light in front of me. It was runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and I asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. So now when he saw the plane moving downwards, he followed the plane and suddenly he saw 2 long straight lines of light in front of him and he was very, very relieved to see the runway in front of him. There was an airport. He didn't know where he was, but he realized that now he was safe. He was totally relieved. He wanted to thank the pilot in the black aeroplane who had helped him come out of these black clouds. He had guided him and helped him, but when he turned to see where the black aeroplane was, he saw that the sky was empty and there was no other plane. He just didn't know where the aeroplane went. But he landed and quickly came out of his plane and he was not sorry to walk from there, leaving his old Dakota. He didn't know where he had landed and he just didn't bother about his plane. He quickly came out and went straight to the control room to ask about the other plane and its pilot. I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another plane? Up in this storm? No other plane were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So, who helped me to arrive there safely? Without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So this was a really mysterious end when our narrator quickly left his Dakota and went to the control room to ask about the black aeroplane and its pilot because he wanted to thank him. He was just shocked and surprised to know that there was no other aeroplane flying that night except his. The lady at the control room said that it was only the narrator's aeroplane that she could see on the radar. There was no other plane. Our narrator was totally perplexed. He didn't know what the mystery was. Who was the pilot in the strange black aeroplane? Who had helped him come out of those clouds that were just storm clouds, huge ones? His radar was not, his radio system was not working, his compass was not working, nothing was working, his fuel tank was last, and suddenly he had come from nowhere in the black aeroplane and had helped him. The mystery remained unsolved. Who was that man? Was he a messenger of God? No one will believe. Or was our pilot just hallucinating? A black aeroplane and a pilot helping him? What do you think? Do let me know in my comment section. And now let's quickly move on. Question and answers. These are the textbook questions, followed by some extra questions which I have made up on my own. So now let us see. Question 1. I'll take the risk. What is the risk? Why does the narrator take it? The answer is, the risk here refers to not doing the right thing, which is flying back to Paris when he came to know about the storm. Even when he was aware of the bad weather, the pilot headed straight into the storm and risked his life. The pilot's decision making was clouded by his wish to meet his family and eating the English breakfast. Question 2. Describe the narrator's experience as he flew the aeroplane into the storm. The answer is, the narrator was frightened as he lost control of the plane. He felt helpless as the compass and the other instruments had stopped working. Nothing outside the aeroplane was visible when suddenly, in the midst of nowhere, an unknown plane was visible and the pilot was eager to help him. The narrator was panicking because there was very less fuel left, but somehow he managed to escape the storm with the help of the strange pilot, who he could not thank in the end. Question 3. Why does the narrator say, I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota? The answer is, the narrator had landed at an unknown place as his compass and radar had stopped functioning in the storm. He was not scared to leave the plane unattended and go to the control room to inquire about the mysterious plane which had helped him out of the storm. Question 4. What made the woman in the control center look at the narrator strangely? The answer is, the woman in the control room looked at the narrator strangely when he asked about the other pilot that helped him escape the storm. This is because there was no other plane in the sky during such bad weather, and she was totally startled. Question 5. Who do you think helped the narrator to reach safely? Discuss this among yourselves and give reasons for your answer. Now this answer can be different for everybody because it's everybody's own viewpoints and opinions, their own perspectives about the black aeroplane and the pilot in it. Let us see what I have for you. The answer is, it was the pilot's own conscience which helped him out of the storm. There was no other plane out on that stormy night, so probably he was hallucinating. He courageously took the risk, and it was his own capability as a pilot which led him out of that black cloud. Now I have some extra questions for you from in between the chapter. Let us look at them. Question 1. Describe the sky when Dakota took off from Paris. The answer is, when Dakota took off from Paris, the sky was quite clear. The moon was coming up in the east and the stars were shining. There was no cloud in the sky. The climatic condition was ideal. Next question. Why did the pilot call the Paris control room for the first time? Why could he not contact it the second time? The answer is, the pilot called the Paris control room to inform the airport authorities about his flight to England. He also wanted to ask for proper direction. He could not contact it the second time because his radio was dead due to storm. Question 3. What difficulties did the narrator face while flying in the storm? The answer is, the difficulties that the narrator faced were that all the instruments of his aeroplane stopped working. He could not see anything as there were dark clouds all around. The radio became dead and the compass was turning round and round. We can add that his plane was also jumping and twisting. Question 4. The pilot is lost in the storm clouds. Does he arrive safe? Who helps him? The answer is, yes, the pilot arrives safe on the runway. He is helped by another pilot of a mysterious black plane. He vanishes soon after the narrator landed on the airport. The pilot of the other plane guided him to a safe landing, but soon vanished, soon disappeared, so our narrator could not meet him or thank him for his help and guidance. Question 5. From the beginning to the end of the lesson, the black aeroplane is a mystery. How? The narrator started his journey with old Dakota DS-088. At that time, the sky was clear, but suddenly he found himself in the midst of black clouds. There was zero visibility, everything was black. He couldn't find any way to escape. To his shock, the compass and radio were dead. He was lost in the storm. All of a sudden, the narrator saw a black aeroplane and was helped by the other pilot. For half an hour, he was flying behind that plane like an obedient child. There was only enough fuel in the tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes when suddenly he saw 2 rows of light. It was a runway in front of him. He safely landed at the airport. He went to the control center to ask who the other pilot was. To his horror, his was the only flight that could be seen on the radar. Who was the other pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights remained a mystery till the end. Question 6. Describe the narrator's experience as he flew the aeroplane into the storm. The answer is, the narrator was in a hurry to reach England, although he had little fuel. He felt homesick and missed his home, so he took the risk to fly on low fuel. Suddenly, he lost contact with Paris due to cloudy storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible for him to see anything outside the aeroplane. His plane jumped and twisted in the air. He looked at the compass and to his surprise, it was moving round and round. It was dead. All the other instruments were dead. He tried the radio but in vain. He was lost in the storm. Just then a black aeroplane appeared. He was helped by the mysterious pilot and was able to land safely. The other aeroplane had no lights on its wings, but the narrator could see it flying next to him. He could see other pilot's face. He lifted one hand and waved at the narrator and asked him to follow him. Narrator's fuel was getting over, but the other pilot guided him down and made his safe landing possible. After that, the pilot and the aeroplane both disappeared. Question 7. Explain what was crossing the author's mind when he was flying over Paris. Suddenly, what happened? The answer is, it was very early morning when the author was flying his old Dakota aeroplane over Paris. We have read it was 1:30 early morning, that is late at night, when we have the other day starting at 12 midnight. Everything seemed to be in perfect order, especially the weather and the nice thought of delicious breakfast waiting back home, then meeting his family, and also a holiday waiting for him. Even the guidelines by the Paris control room and the Dakota's instruments, fuel tank, etc. were in perfect order. But the author's excitement was short-lived. As soon as the aeroplane entered into a huge black cloud, all the gadgets stopped working. He was completely taken over by fear and hurry. Fear and worry. I hope this video was helpful to you. Do please let me know in the comment section what else do you want. Till then, goodbye. We'll meet in the next video. Do take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.